Church, I think most of us underestimate the importance of the places where we spend most of our lives. Oftentimes, we get this idea that something else could be better, or something else could be more meaningful, or something else could be a more impactful life. I mean, have you ever imagined a better life somewhere else? Maybe you went on a trip or you went on vacation. You're like, man, if only this was where I lived. If only I could just be here, like life would be better. I would be more relaxed. My family would be nicer to each other. Like things would just be awesome. I know that I have a tendency to do this. I'm guilty of this. Here lately, in the past year or so, for me, it's been Bonaire, which is an island in the Caribbean Netherlands. It's like 50 miles off the coast of Venezuela. And I got the opportunity to travel a couple times over the past 2 years, and it was just like this amazing experience for me. I learned how to scuba dive. I learned all this stuff, and I was able to enjoy things. And so I'm like, yeah, I think I could do this. My life might be better. And I have to tell you, like, I started looking to see if there's any Methodist churches on my island. And like, hey, maybe there's not. By the way, there's not. There are a couple of English-speaking churches. So I was like, maybe I can go back and check out a church, and maybe there's like a pulpit exchange or something that needs to happen. But I'll start dreaming a little bit about what would it be like? What would it be like? Wouldn't life be different if we were, by the ocean, or we were able to just to slow down and do things differently, experience life differently, enjoy each other a little bit better. Have you ever done this? Have you ever been on a trip or a vacation and then you just think, man, if this could be my life, I could do it. Or maybe it's not a place, because sometimes somewhere else is not a place. Sometimes it's a time. Sometimes you spend time looking backwards, because sometimes this other place is not just a time or a place, it's a season of life. And so maybe you look backwards and you think, man, my life was really good. I had things together in the past. It's this nostalgia of times gone by. And maybe you look at old photographs and you're transported and you smell the smells of your childhood. You see the things that were happening then, and you think about life being much simpler then. You're like, man, if that was life today, I could really do something about that. Or maybe you see young children running around today, and it reminds you of when you had young children running around in your feet, and you don't remember the stress of that if you're out of that, I'm sure. But you remember just the joy of the laughter and the little ones running and jumping in your lap. Maybe you look back to a time when your health was better, and you're like, my health, if I had that again, I could do something. Maybe, just maybe, again, if I had that, my life would be more fulfilling, would be better. Or maybe it's not that you're looking back. Maybe you're looking towards the future, and it's like, you think that when my children get older, then I'll finally have the opportunity to do something. Or when life gets less demanding, when work gets less demanding, then I'll be able to do something important. I can make a difference in the world. Maybe when you have more time or more resources when you get there, and then I'll be able to do something good, and my life will perhaps be better. Or maybe you thought that you needed something big. And if that something big happened, your life would finally change. Once you get that promotion, and you'll finally figure out your budget and how to make things work. Or once you go on your trip, it'll all make sense, or whatever that may be. You'll have more resources, you'll have more influence, life will be better. But sometimes we get so focused on something else. We get so focused on that other place, that other time, that other season of life, that maybe, just maybe, we underestimate the power of where we are today. Maybe, just maybe, we underestimate the power and the influence of where we are today. And when this happens, a fear can start to creep in, fearing, maybe what I do here doesn't really matter. Maybe my life isn't significant. Maybe I'm not in a place that really matters. The good news is that this fear that people deal with, or at least this longing of a different time, a different place, this is something that God knows something about. And one time Jesus was teaching, and Jesus gave his followers, his closest followers, a teaching that addressed this head on and told them who they were and what they wanted, what they should do. And what Jesus told them is that who they are and their importance was not based on everything working right in their life or them being at the right time or right place, but instead was was just based on who they are. And today I want to share that with you. Today's Bible lesson story comes from the book of Matthew. And Matthew, it was a follower of Jesus. He was somebody that Jesus was talking to directly. Matthew is the first book in the New Testament that tells us about the life and the ministry of Jesus. And this part I want to read to you today comes from what we know as the Sermon on the Mount. And it's just a time where Jesus was teaching and pouring into those that were around him, that were spending time with him. So today comes from Matthew chapter 5, beginning in verse 13, where Jesus says this. He says, "You are the salt of the earth. But if salt loses its saltiness, how will it become salty again? It's good for nothing except to be thrown away and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city on top of a hill can't be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a basket. Instead, they put it on top of a lampstand, and it shines on all who are in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before people, so that they can see the good things you do and praise your Father who is in heaven." So here, Jesus tells his followers a bit about who they are. And then he tells them what he wants them to do with who they are. So first he says to them, he says, "You're the salt of the earth." And salt, salt is this thing that has flavor, but it doesn't really function in a way that I used to think that salt worked, because when you add salt to your food, you don't want to taste the salt, right? You want the salt to bring out the taste, the essence, the goodness that is in the food that you're cooking. Similarly, that salt can help preserve things. And so when we think about being the salt of the earth, what Jesus is really saying is that the followers of Jesus are supposed to bring out the good in other people, supposed to sprinkle their goodness, the life of Jesus on other people, so that the goodness can come out of other people, and so that the followers of Jesus can help preserve what is good. But this isn't the only kind of analogy that Jesus does, because next he jumps to a different analogy, and he says that his followers, that you are salt, but you're also light. He says, "You are the light of the world." And again, he doesn't say that being the light of the world is something that his followers should aspire to. Instead, he just says that if you are a person of faith, if you are somebody who follows Jesus, you are the light of the world. It's not only the good ones, it's not only the ones that seem like they have it all together, it's not only the ones that seem like they have enough money to get by. He just says that it doesn't matter. If you are my follower, you are the light of the world. And when he's originally saying this, what he's doing is he's saying it to ordinary folks, his ordinary disciples. If you go and read the Bible and you read the stories about Jesus and the people that were around Jesus, his followers were kind of a messed up crew. I mean, they were just ordinary people who did ordinary things. Some of them have sketchy backgrounds. Many of them come from humble means. Many of them might thought that their best days were behind them because of the things that they were involved with. And perhaps others were just waiting for things to change in their lives. And the reality behind this is that Jesus says to them, and Jesus says to you, you are the salt, or you are the light of the world. You are the salt of the earth. And the reality is that because Jesus says you are, you don't have to look somewhere else for a better life. Because Jesus says you are, you don't have to find a seemingly more important place or a better time in life so that your life can be meaningful. Most of us underestimate the places where we spend most of our lives. And often we start thinking that another place or another time might be better, and we might be able to be happier in that time, in that place. But Jesus says, no. You're the salt of the earth. You're the light of the world. This place is important. This time is important. What you're doing today is important. It is important today. You are right where you need to be to make a difference. And so Jesus says, let your light shine. Let your light shine before people right here, right now, today, in everyday life, in the places where you spend most of your life. And so when Jesus says, let your light shine, it's not an invitation to prove your value. After all, Jesus has already said, this is who you are. If you follow me, you are this light. You have this light. Jesus has already told you that you have value, that you are important. He says, instead, this is an invitation to make a difference right where you are in the people and the places that are right around you. It's an invitation to let your light shine so that other people, so that others can see the good things you do and praise your Father who is in heaven. So that's nice for Jesus to say, right? But maybe you're thinking, that light's not about me. You know, surely there's some folks that yeah, the light's about, you know, that they have this light, those followers of Jesus we read about in the Bible. Maybe somebody who teaches Sunday school or leads a small group, or maybe somebody who volunteers all the time. Yeah, maybe they have the light, or maybe a preacher, maybe they have a light, but my light, that's just not something that I identify. My light's not really all that bright. Or maybe you think, if Jesus is really saying that other people can see God through me, maybe I need to get my life better. Maybe I need to fix things in my life so that I could actually have this light. You may be thinking that other people might be able to do this work of pointing people to Jesus, but not me. Because, you know, I'm too shy, or I'm not good enough, or maybe you think I'm not old enough. Or maybe you think I'm not young enough, or I don't know enough people. If that is what you're feeling, that is what you're thinking, that your life isn't important, or that you couldn't do this, or that you might assume that your light is just a little too dim, or might assume that you don't have the light at all. But the reality is not that your light is too dim, because the light comes from Jesus. The reality is that the problem is sometimes we hide our light. Sometimes we hide the light that Jesus says that we are, that Jesus says that we have. We hide our light by convincing ourselves that anything that we could do would be too small or not matter at all. And Jesus warns about this. The language that Jesus uses here is the language of putting a lamp under a basket. Now, I grew up in church, I confess that, and so I've heard this story, this like teaching, like probably tens, maybe 100 times in my life. And as a kid, I remember, why would you put a lamp under a basket? Like, that's weird. Like, you know, you turn a lamp on and it turns, like, you turn the little, whatever the switch on, or the light switch on the wall. You turn the light on and the light is on. And if you want to turn it off, you just turn it off and turn the switch off, and the lamp goes dim and it's off. Or maybe there's a dimmer on it and you go up and down. But why would you put it under a basket? That's just silly. But the reality is, in the first century Palestine, and where Jesus was living and working in ministry, is that the lamps they used didn't plug into the wall. You know, they did not have electric lamps. They had these little oil lamps, and the oil lamp you would light, and you wouldn't necessarily want to blow it out or snuff it out, and so people might put a basket over it. And it wouldn't be like a wicker basket. It would be an earthen basket, like a pottery type thing that you could put over it. And that pottery that earthen basket, it might snuff the flame out if you needed to control it, or it might just keep it safe from burning up and causing damage. And so people would do this, and would so the people that Jesus is writing to or talking to understands what he's talking about. The problem is not that the lamp lacks light. The problem has just been covered. Just something has been put over it so you can't see it. And some of you cover your light. I mean, I'll confess, sometimes I cover my light. I do. I see there's some preachers around town that have like preacher tags on their license plate. And I'm like, why would you do that? I'm not going to tell people while I'm driving that I'm a preacher, because I'm not always driving good. And maybe my behavior is not always. I don't want people to know that I'm a pastor. I mean, that they can think bad things about me, but then they start thinking bad things about God. And like, that's not something that we need to do. But some of you cover your light and assume that your contribution is too small. Or you're waiting for a more important opportunity, or maybe you're like, I can let my faith be visible at church, but the rest of the week, I can't do that. Just go back to ordinary activities. But the reality is that Jesus says you are the light of the world. You are the light of the world. And he says, let your light shine. And when he's talking about that, he's talking about your whole life, your whole ordinary life, right where you are today. A biblical commentator that I really like to read as I'm preparing for sermons is this guy named William Barclay, and he was kind of in the mid 20th century, so it's a little bit dated, but he shares his kind of imagery about what this passage means, and I just want to share it with you because I really enjoyed it. He said that our Christianity should be visible in the way we treat a shop assistant across the counter, in the way we order a meal in a restaurant, in the way we treat our employees or serve our employer, in the way we play a game or drive or park a car. I need to know that. In your daily language, in the daily literature we read. He goes on to say, as Christians, we should be just as much a Christian in the factory, the workshop, the shipyard, the mine, the schoolroom, the surgery room, the kitchen, the golf course, and the playing field as we are in church. Jesus says, you are the light of the world. And in our lives, in the world, our Christianity should be evident to all. Friends, most of us underestimate the importance of the places where we spend most of our lives. But Jesus says, let your light shine right where you are. Let your light shine right where you are, because you are already standing somewhere where your light is needed. You are already standing somewhere where your light is needed. You are already standing in a family where your light is needed. You are already standing in a workplace where your light is needed. You are already standing on a golf course where your light is needed. And many of our kids here in Oak Ridge, they go back to school tomorrow. And I want you to know that if you're in the classroom, whether you're a student or a teacher, you are already in a classroom where your light is needed. You're already in a neighborhood where your light is needed. And I especially want you to hear this. You are already at a time in your life where your light is needed. Your light isn't needed in the nostalgic dreams of yesteryears, and your light isn't needed in the daydreams of the future. Your light's needed today, wherever you are. But most of us underestimate the importance of the places we spend most of our lives. But Jesus says, your light is needed. Your light is needed right where you're standing. So today, friends, I want to invite you to kind of think about where you are, where you're standing in your life. And I want you to name your place, to name where are you standing today. And then not only name your place, but name your place, notice a person, and let your light shine. So name your place. I just want to invite you, as you think about this, to identify one ordinary place where you regularly show up. Maybe it's your workplace, maybe it's a school, maybe it's a restaurant, maybe it's the ball field, maybe it's a place that you volunteer, or maybe you're like, I don't go to any of those places. I only go to the grocery store and the doctor's office. If that's you, there's your place. That's your place. You don't have to try to find a new place. Just recognize a place where you already are and name your place. And then once you name your place, I want to invite you to notice a person. Maybe notice a person who's always there, but someone you can easily overlook, or someone you just pass by. Notice someone who might need patient listening. Notice someone who might need encouragement or forgiveness. Notice somebody who might need help budgeting or need dignity or just presence in your life. In their lives. So name your place and notice a person who is there. And then after you do that, let your light shine. Let your light shine. Listen patiently to a child or a spouse without multitasking. Learn a neighbor's name and begin a real conversation. Offer practical help without waiting to be asked. Treat a server, a cashier, an employee, a coworker with dignity. Explain, when appropriate, it does not always make sense, but explain that your faith shapes why you care. Letting your light shine means allowing the patience, the mercy, the generosity, and the attention of Jesus to become visible through the way you treat somebody else. While most of us underestimate the importance of the places where we spend most of our lives, you are already standing somewhere where your light is needed. So name your place. Notice a person and let your light shine. And this, what is true for each of us is also true together for all of us. It's also true for us as Kern Church. As a church, it can be, confess here, it can be easy to imagine significance somewhere else. Thinking like, if we had a larger budget, or if there were more people, or if we had more staff, or if we had a different preacher. I mean, that one's probably true, but, just thinking through these things, if this were different, my church could really make an impact. But I want you to know that our church together, we are already standing somewhere where our light is needed. We are already standing somewhere where the light of Jesus is needed through us. And I want you to know, church, that you live this out together. You live this out. Our monthly food pantry, for example, is a great example of how you live out this mission. It demonstrates your commitment to being a church of people helping people make a difference in the lives of those around you. And if you're like, what's the food pantry? Guess what? There's a great opportunity. The second Saturday of every month, we get together here to serve our community for food. So if you need food, you can sign up online. But if you want to just volunteer, it's a great way to bring the kids or to bring other people and to serve and to help load groceries in people's cars, to just have conversations so that your light can shine in our community. We recently saw an example of this through our Growing the Next Generation campaign. This Growing the Next Generation capital campaign, we came together as a church to commit over $1 million to remove barriers to our facility and to help our families and our neighborhoods and our community to have space where they can find care and belonging. To create a licensed childcare ministry to address real needs that people are facing. And this is your light shining right where we are today. This is something that you already know. And just this last week, and I shared it a few minutes ago, our church leadership approved the new staff position for a full-time family and youth director here at Kern. And this is a big step. I mean, we haven't had a full-time person doing this in many years. And as we are preparing our space to create new space for new families and new people, we also want to staff for this because it's not just about space, it's about relationships that are possible through this. So we are not only creating space, but we're also trying to work hard to help people belong, to grow in faith, and to make a difference, children, youth, and adults. And as we are facing this, church, you could have said, not today. You could have said, if only we were bigger, or if we could just wait like a few more months or a few more weeks, if we just had a little bit more money, if our facilities were already renovated. But no, we looked together at where God has placed us and where we are standing and realized that our light, the light of Jesus, was needed today, and you are taking this bold step to help shine a light. These things and these moves, they are not accomplishments on their own sake. They are not meant to draw attention to us. They are only meant to help us draw attention to God, to help God's light shine through us. This is God telling us not to wait until everything is perfect, but is helping us shine more faithfully right where we are. Friends, I will probably keep trying to persuade my family to go to this island that I really like, to go to Bonaire. I'll probably keep trying to, every time I'm on vacation, I'll probably still daydream about, what would it be like to actually be here and just relocate my whole life here? Maybe my family would be more enjoyable. Well, that's a really bad thing to say. Maybe I would be more enjoyable to my family. I have to go home with my family today. So maybe it's all on me. It's not on them. Maybe I would be more enjoyable to my family. Yeah. Maybe I should write down what I want to say a little bit clearer and just read it. But anyways, but seriously, I'm probably going to still do that daydreaming stuff. And I want to say that that's probably okay. But I don't want to be so captivated by somewhere else that I miss what's here today. I don't want to be so captivated by some time else that I miss the life that God has given me today. Friends, your ordinary life is not insignificant to the plans of God. Your home, your workplace, your neighborhood, your season of life are not merely holding areas while you wait for something more meaningful. You are already standing somewhere where your light is needed. Where are you standing? Where are you standing? Who is around you? Who is there with you? And what would it look like to let your light shine there. So friends, I want to invite you to name your place, to notice a person, to let your light shine. I want to pray for you right now. God, thank you so much for drawing us together today. Thank you so much for your love that just invites us into relationship with you. And God, sometimes I know I'm guilty of this. I start thinking that the place that I'm in doesn't matter all that much, or there's just something else out there that might be better. I think it's true, God, that most of us, at least sometimes, underestimate the importance of the places where we spend most of our lives. And so, God, I pray for each one, that you would help each one look towards you and see your light shining in their lives so that they can pour that out. And wherever they are standing, God, help us notice those around us so that our light can shine, so that your light can shine through us. I give this all to you, God, in the name of Jesus the Christ, I pray. Amen.